Ladies and gentlemen, what does it mean to be the best woman? For generations, the answer was handed to us, often narrow, limiting, and heavy with expectations. Be gentle but strong, ambitious but not intimidating, confident but not too loud, perfect but effortless. Today we pause and rewrite that story, because being the best woman is not about fitting into a mold, it's about breaking it. Womanhood reimagined begins with choice. The freedom to define success on your own terms, whether that means leading a company, raising a family, pursuing art, choosing independence, or blending all of these in your own way. Your path is valid because you chose it. Being the best woman is not about comparison. It's not about being better than others. It's about being truer to yourself. It's knowing your worth even on days when the world forgets to remind you. It's showing up with courage, even when confidence feels far away. For generations, womanhood has been defined by rules written long before many women had the chance to speak for themselves. These definitions were shaped by culture, tradition, expectation, and limitation. They told women how to look, how to behave, what to prioritize, and even how much space they were allowed to occupy in the world. Strength was often mistaken for silence. Ambition was seen as rebellion, and individuality was something to be managed rather than celebrated. Today, redefining womanhood means questioning those inherited ideas and deciding, consciously and courageously, what being a woman truly means in the modern world. Redefining womanhood begins with recognizing that there is no single way to be a woman. There is no universal checklist, no fixed role, and no standard timeline. Womanhood is not a costume to wear or a box to fit into. It is a lived experience shaped by culture, personality, dreams, and choices. Some women find fulfillment in leadership, others in creativity, caregiving, entrepreneurship, or quiet reflection. Some embrace tradition, others challenge it. None of these paths are more valid than the others. True empowerment begins when we stop measuring ourselves against someone else's definition of success. For too long, society has rewarded women for being agreeable rather than authentic. Redefining womanhood means giving women permission to speak honestly, to say no without guilt, and to set boundaries without apology. It means understanding that strength does not always look loud or bold. Sometimes strength is soft, patient, and deeply resilient. It can be found in perseverance during hardship, in healing after failure, and in choosing self-worth over approval. This redefinition also requires unlearning. It asks women to release unrealistic expectations placed on their bodies, their emotions, and their roles. It challenges the idea that worth is tied to productivity, appearance, or perfection. Instead, it encourages a healthier, more compassionate view, one that recognizes growth as non-linear and self-worth as inherent. When women stop chasing impossible ideals, they create space for confidence that is rooted in authenticity rather than comparison. Redefining womanhood is not about rejecting femininity, nor is it about conforming to strength as traditionally defined. It is about expanding the definition so that every woman sees herself reflected within it. It allows room for softness and ambition, vulnerability and resilience, independence and connection. It honors both tradition and transformation. Most importantly, redefining womanhood empowers women to see themselves not as incomplete or becoming, but as already enough. It shifts the narrative from proving worth to recognizing it. When women begin to define themselves on their own terms, they don't just change their own lives. They influence families, communities, and future generations. In redefining womanhood, we are not erasing the past. We are building a future where every woman has the freedom to be fully, unapologetically herself. The power of choice is one of the most defining aspects of modern womanhood, yet it is something women have historically been denied, questioned, or judged for exercising. For centuries, choices about education, marriage, career, identity, and even voice were often made on behalf of women rather than by them. Today, reclaiming the power of choice is not simply about having options. It is about honoring the right to choose freely, without guilt, fear, or societal pressure. Choice is powerful because it recognizes women as complete individuals, capable of deciding what is best for their own lives. It affirms that there is no single path that leads to fulfillment. One woman may find purpose in building a career, another in raising a family, another in creating art, traveling the world, or pursuing spiritual growth. Some may choose all of these at different times in their lives. None of these choices are superior or inferior. What gives them meaning is that they are chosen intentionally, not imposed. The power of choice also means rejecting the idea that a woman must explain or justify her decisions. Too often, women are asked to defend their ambitions, their lifestyle, or even their boundaries, choosing not to marry, choosing to marry, choosing to have children, or choosing not to. Each of these decisions is deeply personal. Empowerment comes when women no longer feel the need to seek permission or validation for living in alignment with their values. True choice requires courage. It takes strength to walk a path that may differ from expectations, especially when those expectations come from family, culture, or society. Choosing oneself can feel uncomfortable, even lonely at first. But it is through these brave decisions that women discover their authentic voice. Each choice made with intention builds confidence, self-trust, and a deeper sense of purpose. The power of choice also extends to daily life in quiet but meaningful ways. It is choosing self-respect over approval, rest over burnout, honesty over comfort. It is deciding to walk away from environments that diminish self-worth and choosing spaces that encourage growth. These small, consistent decisions shape identity just as much as the major milestones. Importantly, honoring choice also means respecting the choices of other women, even when they differ from our own. Empowerment is not about creating a new standard to replace an old one. It is about expanding the space so every woman can belong. When women support one another's choices without comparison or judgment, they create a culture of solidarity rather than competition. The power of choice is not about having complete control over every circumstance, but about claiming agency within whatever circumstances exist. Even when options are limited, the ability to choose one's attitude, response, or direction remains a profound form of strength. In embracing the power of choice, women reclaim ownership of their lives. They move from obligation to intention, from expectation to authenticity, and in doing so, they redefine success, not as meeting external standards, but as living a life that feels true, meaningful, and deeply their own. Strength in authenticity begins with the courage to be real, in a world that often rewards imitation. From a young age, many women are taught, directly or subtly, to adjust themselves to fit expectations, to be quieter, kinder, more agreeable, to hide flaws, soften opinions, and present a version of themselves that is more acceptable than truthful. Over time, this constant adjustment can distance women from who they truly are. Rediscovering authenticity then becomes an act of strength, not rebellion, and certainly not selfishness. Being authentic does not mean being perfect or fearless. It means showing up as you are, with your values, emotions, and individuality intact. It is the courage to speak honestly, even when your voice shakes. It is the decision to honor your feelings, rather than suppress them to make others comfortable. Authenticity requires vulnerability, and vulnerability takes tremendous strength. When a woman allows herself to be seen as she truly is, without masks or performances, she creates space for real connection and genuine self-respect. In a world that constantly promotes comparison, authenticity can feel risky. Social expectations, social media, and cultural pressures often present a narrow image of success and beauty. The temptation to measure oneself against others can be overwhelming. Yet true strength lies in resisting that pressure and choosing self-acceptance over imitation. When a woman embraces her uniqueness, her background, her voice, her perspective, she steps into a form of power that cannot be replicated or taken away. Authenticity also means acknowledging imperfections without shame. It is understanding that flaws are not failures, but parts of a human story. Growth does not come from pretending to have everything figured out. It comes from honesty, reflection, and the willingness to evolve. A woman who allows herself to learn, unlearn, and change demonstrates a strength that is deeply rooted and enduring. There is also strength in setting boundaries. Being authentic means recognizing what aligns with your values and what does not, then acting accordingly. It may require saying no when others expect yes, or walking away from spaces that demand you shrink yourself. These choices are not signs of weakness, they are acts of self-respect. When a woman honors her boundaries, she sends a powerful message to herself and others that her well-being matters. Authenticity has a ripple effect. When one woman lives truthfully, she gives others permission to do the same. Her courage becomes a mirror in which others see their own potential for honesty and self-acceptance. In this way, authenticity is not only personal but transformative. It builds communities grounded in trust, empathy, and real connection rather than comparison or competition. Strength in authenticity is about alignment between who you are on the inside and how you live on the outside. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are enough without pretending to be someone else. When women embrace their authentic selves, they stop performing and start living. They no longer chase validation, they cultivate self-worth. In choosing authenticity, a woman chooses freedom. She steps into her life fully, unapologetically, and powerfully, proving that the truest form of strength comes not from perfection, but from being real. In a world constantly filled with images, achievements, and curated versions of success, comparison has become almost unavoidable. From an early age, many women are taught, directly or indirectly, to measure their worth against others. Who is doing better, who is further ahead, who appears more successful, more confident, more accomplished. Over time, this habit of comparison can quietly erode self-worth, turning growth into competition and progress into pressure. Choosing growth over comparison is a powerful shift, one that transforms how women see themselves and their journeys. Growth is deeply personal. It does not follow a universal timeline, nor does it move in a straight line. Each woman carries her own history, challenges, opportunities, and dreams. Comparing one life to another ignores the complexity of individual paths and reduces success to a narrow set of visible outcomes. True growth, however, is not about being ahead of others, but about moving forward from where you once were. It is measured in self-awareness, resilience, learning, and the courage to keep going even when progress feels slow. Comparison often steals joy. It convinces women that someone else's success diminishes their own, creating unnecessary competition rather than connection. But growth thrives in an environment of self-compassion. When a woman focuses on her own progress, no matter how small, she begins to appreciate her journey for what it is, not for how it measures up. This shift allows room for gratitude, patience, and confidence to take root. Choosing growth over comparison also requires redefining success. Success is not a single destination or a checklist of achievements reached by a certain age. It is a continuous process shaped by learning, failure, healing, and self-discovery. Sometimes growth looks like achieving a goal. Other times it looks like letting go, starting over, or simply surviving a difficult season. Each step forward, no matter how quiet, holds value. When women focus on growth, they become more open to learning rather than proving. Mistakes become lessons instead of sources of shame. Challenges become opportunities to build resilience rather than evidence of inadequacy. This mindset fosters confidence that is rooted not in perfection, but in persistence. It allows women to celebrate progress without minimizing their struggles. Letting go of comparison also strengthens relationships. Instead of viewing other women as competition, growth-oriented thinking creates space for admiration, inspiration, and support. When comparison fades, collaboration becomes possible. Women can celebrate each other's achievements without feeling diminished, understanding that another's success does not take away from their own potential. Growth over comparison also encourages patience. Everyone evolves at a different pace, shaped by unique circumstances and timing. Trusting your own path requires faith that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. This trust brings peace, replacing pressure with purpose. Choosing growth over comparison is an act of self-respect. It is a decision to honor your progress, however imperfect, and to value who you are becoming rather than who you think you should be. When women embrace this mindset, they reclaim their power, not by competing with others, but by committing fully to their own evolution. Compassion and resilience are often spoken of as separate qualities, yet in reality, they are deeply connected. Compassion softens the heart, while resilience strengthens the spirit. Together, they form a powerful foundation that allows women not only to survive life's challenges, but to grow through them with grace and purpose. In a world that constantly demands strength, productivity, and perfection, embracing compassion, especially toward oneself, becomes an act of courage. For many women, resilience has long been misunderstood as the ability to endure silently. Strength was associated with endurance without complaint, with carrying burdens quietly and moving forward regardless of exhaustion or pain. While resilience does involve endurance, it should never require self-neglect. True resilience is not about suppressing emotion. It is about acknowledging pain, processing it, and continuing forward with intention. It is the strength to pause, to heal, and to rise again, without losing one's sense of self. Compassion plays a vital role in this process. It begins with recognizing that struggle is not a weakness, but a shared human experience. When women allow themselves to feel, to rest, and to seek support, they create space for healing. Self-compassion replaces harsh self-criticism with understanding and patience. It allows women to treat themselves with the same kindness they so often offer to others. This inner kindness becomes a source of strength, making resilience sustainable rather than exhausting. Life's challenges, loss, failure, disappointment, and change are inevitable. What defines resilience is not the absence of hardship, but the response to it. Compassion gives resilience its depth. It reminds women that they are allowed to be affected by their experiences without being defined by them. Through compassion, pain becomes a teacher rather than a burden, offering insight, growth, and empathy. Resilience also grows through connection. When women support one another with empathy and understanding, they create communities where healing becomes collective. Compassion allows women to share their stories without fear of judgment, and in doing so, they realize they are not alone. This shared strength transforms individual struggles into collective empowerment, reinforcing the idea that resilience does not have to be a solitary journey. At the same time, resilience teaches women to set boundaries. Compassion does not mean endless self-sacrifice. Knowing when to say no, when to step back, and when to protect one's energy is a form of self-respect. Resilient women understand that caring for themselves is not selfish, it is necessary. By honoring their limits, they preserve the emotional and mental strength needed to continue growing. As women navigate personal and professional challenges, compassion and resilience work together to foster emotional balance. Compassion softens the impact of hardship, while resilience provides the determination to move forward. One without the other can lead to burnout or emotional withdrawal, but together they create a powerful foundation for well-being. Compassion and resilience redefine strength. They show that being strong does not mean being unbreakable. It means being human, adaptable, and brave enough to keep going despite uncertainty. When women embrace both qualities, they cultivate a quiet, enduring power that carries them through life's challenges with grace, dignity, and hope. Empowerment through unity is one of the most transformative forces within womanhood. While strength is often imagined as an individual trait, true empowerment grows stronger when it is shared. Throughout history, women have made their greatest progress not in isolation, but through connection, collaboration, and collective courage. Unity does not erase individuality. Instead, it amplifies it by creating a space where every woman's voice, experience, and strength matters. For generations, women have been encouraged, sometimes subtly, sometimes openly, to compete with one another. Limited opportunities, social expectations, and comparison have often created divisions where solidarity could have thrived. Yet when women come together with understanding rather than judgment, something powerful happens. Support replaces rivalry, empathy replaces comparison, and collective progress becomes possible. Unity transforms personal victories into shared triumphs. Empowerment through unity begins with recognizing that every woman's journey is valid. Differences in background, culture, beliefs, and life choices do not weaken solidarity, they enrich it. When women listen to one another with openness, they learn that there is no single narrative of success or strength. Each story adds depth to the collective experience, reminding us that empowerment is not a competition, but a shared human pursuit. One of the most powerful aspects of unity is the sense of belonging it creates. When women feel seen, heard, and valued, they gain confidence to speak, lead, and dream without fear. Supportive communities provide safety during moments of doubt and encouragement during times of growth. In these spaces, women are reminded that they do not have to navigate life's challenges alone. Strength multiplies when it is shared. Unity also fosters mentorship and inspiration. When women uplift one another, knowledge and experience are passed forward. One woman's courage becomes another's guide. One success opens doors for many more. Through mentorship, encouragement, and collaboration, women create pathways that extend beyond individual achievement and into lasting impact. Empowerment through unity also requires empathy. It asks women to listen deeply, to understand perspectives different from their own, and to stand beside one another even when experiences differ. This empathy builds bridges and dissolves barriers, allowing trust to flourish. When women choose compassion over judgment, they create environments where growth is possible for everyone. At its core, unity strengthens resilience. In moments of doubt, failure, or hardship, shared strength becomes a source of renewal. Women lifting one another remind each other of their worth, their capabilities, and their potential. Together, they transform obstacles into opportunities and challenges into collective learning. Empowerment through unity is not about losing individuality. It is about amplifying it through connection. When women stand together, they create a powerful force for change, one that reshapes communities, challenges limitations, and redefines what is possible. In unity, women do not simply survive, they thrive. Ultimately, the true power of unity lies in its ability to turn shared understanding into shared action. When women support women, they build a future rooted in respect, strength, and possibility. And in that unity, empowerment becomes not just a personal journey, but a collective legacy that continues to grow with every voice that dares to rise.